makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravin. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In today's episode, I will be having a conversation with Michele Malski. Michele is the founder and president of Succession Planning for Railroads, Investing in the Next Generation LLC, SPRING for short, dedicated to supporting the next generation of railroaders. Hi Michele, thank you so much for being here with me today. So can you tell us about your journey into the rail industry and how your family's connection to railroading influenced your career choice?
I'm glad you asked this question because this is really how I got started. So my father was really fascinated by the railway industry as a young child. He would hear the thunderous roars of the engines very close to nearby where he lived in Dixon City, Pennsylvania. And that area really had so much activity back in the day. And over time, through mergers, acquisitions, bankruptcies, abandonments, a lot of that economic growth that he saw as a young child disappeared from that area. And so what my father did was create an authority that then tried to start saving a lot of those properties and pinning them together so that he could once again bring economic growth to the area. So then he brought on a railroad company, an operator, to then service the customers that came to that property. So really from the moment he was a child, he saw the growth and what railroading can do. He brought it back to an area that is now once again thriving and bringing multiple jobs and different things with the economy back to an area that, once was known for coal mining and being the electric city near Scranton, Pennsylvania. And now it's really kind of having its renaissance, which is a beautiful thing. So my father's passion really turned into a career. And as a child, what benefit that was for me was that I got to see some of these things firsthand. I got to go to meetings. I got to go to hear how he talked to the bridge inspector. I got to go and listen to how he would talk to a new customer that was coming on site. So from all these different categories of groups, whether it was a craft, whether it was a new customer, he really had this mastery of language. And me, I was a competitive little kid. So anytime I could just be the best or try to learn something new or just, always have something going on was a real strength for me. And so, when I kept looking around, I was like, Dad, where's all the women? And he's like, well, you want to be the first, get in over here, come on in. And I love that idea that, one, it's a very welcoming industry, but two, the need is there for different types of diversity and it is welcomed. So I got involved really because of the mentorship that my father bestowed on me. But when I started to really think about it and I gained my own experience in the industry, so a little bit about my background is I actually started in the operations world. I graduated Cornell University. And after coming out of an Ivy League school, you'd think, well, why is she going to a railroad? But I went to go work with BNSF, so that's Warren Buffett's railroad. And I was a Trainmaster out in the Montana division. I was in Minot, North Dakota for a little while during the Bakken boom and learning every day, learning the rules. You had to learn how to be a conductor before you became a manager. So it was a part of their management trainee program, which was a great way to assimilate someone that really didn't know much about the industry into this very inclusive and safety-driven industry. And so that's kind of how I got my start. And learning the operations first was so instrumental because if you want to know anything about rail, you really have to understand how it works. And so seeing from the ground up how, crews check trains, how they inspect them, how, the rules that they need to know before they even come anywhere on property, the different customer regulations and rules. There was just so much to learn, and it was just one of those journeys that I was really excited to sink my teeth into. And so continuing on my career path, I then became a division trainmaster with Canadian Pacific back on the East Coast. And from there, again, learning more about what it takes to run a railroad. It takes crews, it takes equipment, it takes the right knowledge, it takes the right just experience, really. You didn't really see a lot of folks that were coming out of college to come and join and come be a conductor or come be a track laborer. And that's okay. But the other side of it too is when you're in that operations world, you get to see kind of the microcosm that the railroad industry is. So here I am, one of the entry-level managers, or as time grew on, a division manager for a very large territory. And I got to interact with marketing, with accounting, with legal, with labor relations. So there is a home for everybody in the rail industry. But the thing that I kept seeing and hearing was that really nobody knows anything about us. And so as I continued my career, I got some more experience on the passenger side, worked with Bombardier Transportation down in Maryland, worked and understood a little bit more about the passenger side of the world, which is a completely different world versus what the freight railroad is. And then I spent some time down in DC as well with a lobbying firm that we built a nonprofit that was the Short Line Safety Institute. And so what we did was essentially build resources for some of the smaller railroads. And so I was leading that education presentations and reaching those new audiences to let them know that there was resources available and that we could really talk about safety culture and hazmat training in a productive way. So from the Class 1 experience that I had from BNSF to Canadian Pacific to working with the short line associations down in DC, one thing I just kept hearing again and again and again was, man, I just can't find people. And to me, that was crazy because everywhere I go, I'm like the crazy train lady. And people are like, let's talk about trains. We'll be on a train. I'm talking about a train. We'll be on a bus. We'll be wherever it is. But I'm always talking about our industry. And so there was a key problem. Nobody knows that our industry exists. Yes. So how would anybody apply? So to fix this problem, I created a company called Succession Planning for Railroads, Investing in the Next Generation. So essentially that same mentorship idea that my father opened his wing and showed me the industry is what I would like this company to embody. And so we really want to be that stepping stone or that first link for you to consider the railroad industry and to just see all the different vibrant careers that you can have. And like I said, whether it's from marketing, accounting, whether it's in the field, whether you want to start on the ops side, which I highly recommend, so that you can be so much more knowledgeable when you work your way to the other groups. And again, the beautiful thing about it is you don't have to come from a railroad college. You don't have to, and sure that there are some programs out there that are very notable and wonderful to have that in your background. But don't be discouraged that if you are a business administrative, career, getting your major in that, then there's still a home for you. And it's just a matter of you having the curiosity to check it out. So again, we're super excited. We have over 3,000 candidates so far in our community, and our community is completely free for any candidates that would like to join us. So please come on in. We're happy to talk to you and communicate more with you. But this is really the first step in getting the railroad industry back on target for being a relevant career option for the future.
But you know what? Listening to you talking, you talk a lot about your father. But I also meet a lot of people that parents is a big influence into their life. But at the end of the day, they choose not to follow that path. Sure. They pick a different path, right? But in your case, you chose to continue your father's legacy, what your father worked hard to create it. May I ask, why did you choose that?
Yeah, absolutely. And lucky for me, my dad's one of my best friends even to today. So it's just, he knew how to talk to me the right way about this. And he knew, again, like I was just a competitive kid. I always did sports. I always liked that team atmosphere. And when you really think about kind of what do you want to do with your career, your life, it always involved being a part of a team. I thought about the attorney path as well, but again, you're kind of acting as a lone wolf. Whereas the rail industry always, everything I saw from when I was young until I started experiencing it myself and verified that, you're always with a team. You're always with people more experienced than you. And if you want to learn, if you're hungry for just knowledge and learning something new every day, then this industry is the place for you to be.
So pretty much you just like to keep on learning.
That's right. Exactly. Keep on learning. And if we're not learning, we're dying. So we got to go. We got to keep moving forward.
That's for sure. But also when someone take a look at your background, when it's come to railroad, you kind of like went through almost every single department. Kind of like you have some sort of experience for for each one of them, which is fascinating. Even for me as a business person, I got an MBA, but I don't know every single, part of business. I know what I know the best, and that's all. But for you, I feel like you know a lot when it's come to railroad.
Absolutely. And I think that's the other beauty of it. It's just, if you're hungry for it, if you're curious, this is the industry for you. And I just can't stress that enough. The way I came into the industry obviously is probably a little less known than or less common now than there is. There's not, like you said, not a lot of people following that same path or trajectory as their parents did. However, that's why it's so essential now to develop some kind of pathway for people to understand that this industry, one, exists, know us, like us, and trust us, right? It's the same basic principles for when you're creating a sales connect, right? People got to know you, like you, and trust you to do business with them. And it's the exact same thing with your career. We as an industry have got to get a little bit better at getting our name out there and to promote ourselves in a way that people do get to know us. And you do see some good examples of that. There are some wonderful railroads right now that are connecting on social media, that are supporting local community baseball teams, just so that people can start recognizing the brand. And what I like to tell employers, and again, we're working on this, some of us are better than others, but there's over 700 railroads in the U.S. So if me saying that to you and you kind of go, oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's because we're still working on that K part of this whole thing. But what I like to tell employers is that you really have to be as notable and as recognizable and as relevant as that red target sign. When you pass that, the target's right over there. If you see IKEA, you see the big sign out there. So we have to work on our branding a little bit more. But again, such a great opportunity for people that are in marketing right now, for people that are in sales right now, for people that are even recruiters. I kind of put those in the same category as sales, just because you're externally talking to somebody about a company and trying to get that buy-in. So it's a great opportunity knowing that, hey, we got a lot of work to do. We're ready to kick it into gear and to accept that next generation in. Now's the time to get curious and really check out some of the careers and the different employers that we have in our network.
But Michele, I remember when I was young, I live in Boston for a short amount of time, I think about 4 years. And the best part of me living in Boston was taking the train. It was like the best thing for me to do, especially when I take the train from Boston going to New York or from another state. It's like the longest thing, and it's so nice. And in Canada, it's even more beautiful when you take the train. So again, even here, sometimes I get stopped for a train to pass by. And sometimes it can be like the longest train ever. And one thing that you said about it is the fact that we'll get aggravated about it because it's so long and you're just sitting there and waiting for that thing to go and it's just not going anywhere. And that used to happen to me in Florida a lot, especially around like 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'm trying to get home and I get stuck by a train. But one thing I got to listening to you talking, made me realize that it was the most beautiful thing ever. It's like, it's carrying, I used to look at counting it. I'm counting each thing that's on it. I'm like, this is so long. What do they have in that thing?
Right.
But I'm guessing at this point is they're carrying the things that we need to survive or even not to survive. The things like, for example, TVs, like you mentioned before, cars, because I know I've seen some that transport cars. So I guess we should be grateful. And I believe they are faster than cars. Even when you have a truck driving something for you, the train can get it there faster. I don't think they are faster than an airplane, but definitely faster than a truck.
For sure. And a couple things I just want to mention on that as well is, when we are stuck at a crossing, instead of being frustrated, use it as an opportunity to see how well our economy is doing. The story I mentioned about my father before, bringing economic growth to an area that, once only had coal mining and some heavy industry, now kind of coming back to the cusp of, okay, now we have a grain elevator. Now we have a flour mill. Now we have, more jobs that we didn't have before. So the rail really connects those different industries with people, which is the beautiful thing of it. But when you're stopped there at the crossing, make sure you're behind the line first. Safety first. And when you're looking at each type of car that goes by, you see a hopper car, it's grain inside. You see, and not all the time, there's other things that could be in there. You see the double stacks, basically two trucks on top of each other. Those two containers are two trucks off the highway. So if you see 100 of them, there's 200 trucks that just came off the highway. Nothing wrong with you guys at trucking. We love you guys. We have a good partnership. It's all good there. But what I'm saying is that you as the consumer and you seeing that, okay, yes, you're frustrated for a moment, but now use that time to see the strength of the economy. Is the train long? Great. Is it short? Maybe that's an indicator. Or maybe it's just a smaller railroad that's just moving for one customer. So that's not necessarily an indicator. But just knowing that, you can use this opportunity to see how vital the rail industry is to our everyday. Like you said, we're moving TVs, we're moving your cars. When you go, next time you buy a car, when you go to the dealership, look at the sticker on the side of the car. It'll say whether it came by ship or rail. Most of the time you're going to see it came by rail, which is an exciting part that just, makes it more relevant to you once again. And again, when you're driving on the highways, you don't know what's next to you. You don't know if that tanker truck has hazmat or whatnot. Mm-hmm. Rail is the safest way to move hazardous anything. It is the safest mode to move hazardous materials in general. And to keep that on a private infrastructure versus a highway that you and I use that, those are heavy trucks. They're wear and tearing on our road that we as the taxpayers have to pay for. Get it off the roads. Get it off next to you and me. We don't want that next to us anymore. Put it on the rail. Mm. The rail is just a much safer network to moving mass hazmat materials for sure, but any kind of freight in general. And again, it's in our backyard, everywhere we are, everywhere we live. Maybe you hear a train whistle, maybe you get stopped at a crossing, but it is an integral part of our entire economy. And it's a beautiful thing. And especially if you're an economist, if you're into crunching numbers and data analysis, I can count on all my feet and hands how many opportunities there are right now for people that are in data. That's becoming such a huge part of our everyday to predict trends, to forecast next year's car loadings. There's just a lot of opportunity that you really don't think about. And I hope that this conversation in future, when you're stuck at a crossing or whatnot, I hope this is an opportunity for you to get curious once again about the rail industry. We liked it when we were little kids. We all had our wooden trains. We played with them then. But then something newer and shinier came along, and that's where we went. So to bring back that curiosity is all I ask. And, there's just so much opportunity here. And I promise you, I've got a home for you, no matter where it is, and a team that wants to build with you. And that's the beauty of the rail industry.
But also, I think that people also should look at it this way. It's safer. The less truck you have in the highway when you're driving, especially when you're taking a long drive. I can talk personally for myself. Like if for example, I'm driving from Las Vegas to California, and there's so many trucks. It doesn't matter what time and I decided to go. Even sometimes I will okay, let me just go at night. So there will be less less truck. And there's a lot more than that. And I don't like driving next to them. I truly don't. And sometimes they'll go to the middle line. They're not supposed to be there in the first place, and they just cross over you. It's kind of scary, especially with my kid sitting in the back. It's like my family is there. So I think when you think about train, really, even when I go back thinking about living in Boston, taking a train, I get there a lot faster, and actually it's safer, and you don't have to worry about that many trucks next to you at the end of the day. So, but that brings me to another question. What society will need to do to bring train back? When we were a little kid, there's a lot of train going. You hear them by the hour. You will hear them passing by. Now we don't anymore. Not as often that we used to. Not at least when I was a kid. So how do we bring that back again?
Yeah, there's a couple things in there. The first is the rail industry is it's not obsolete. It's not dying by any means. It's growing. So the fact that maybe you just moved or whatever the case may be might be kind of a part of a reason there that you don't hear as many or whatever that case may be. But there are, like I mentioned before, there are over 700 railroads proper that are in the U.S. 700. And that doesn't include all of the suppliers, all of the contractors, and all of the rail shippers then that become a part of that network. So multiply 700 by 25, 30%, and you're going to see a little bit more of a glimpse of how big this industry actually is. And like I said, especially with data, new technology, and drone use and things like that, there are more and more contractors coming up that are using these valuable assets. So there's a couple things. The first thing is our conversation probably is more about freight rail right now than when we talk about passenger. Passenger is a whole different animal. There's a lot of different public opinion that I think needs to be on board to make sure that occurs. But one thing to keep in mind too, and I'll just touch on this briefly on the passenger side. Everybody wants high-speed rail. Okay, well that's a wonderful idea, and I think we should do that. But when we think about Europe, think about how much closer everything is versus how spread out the U.S. is. That's a lot of land. That's a lot of legality. That's a lot of different construction things that we've got to talk about before we can even talk about high-speed rail on a long-distance kind of route. So, and the thing is, we actually do have high-speed. So we have high-speed in multiple different areas. The Northeast Corridor, Amtrak, it has high-speed from Boston down to D.C. So there are examples of this happening and occurring quite well. And again, connecting big metropolitan areas. So when we think about even connecting more rural communities, that's a beautiful thing, but we really have to have the support of our state, our leaders politically to make sure that they hear our voice. And if you are someone that says, hey, I would love to have rail service here, make sure that you do connect with your local congressman or whatever the case may be to advocate for having rail service once again, if it was there or didn't, or you just wanted to have it now. So that's just my advice for if you want to see more in your area for sure. But again, going back to the passenger side or the freight side really quick, it's an industry that, whether you are on the locomotive, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a mechanic, whether you're one of the tech support folks that are figuring out the electronics within a locomotive, or maybe you're someone that's actually physically working on the track. Maybe you're the engineer, the PE, or the civil engineer designing the next bridge. There are construction projects all the way until 2025, 26 is probably what we're looking at this point. And so, our industry is very stable, and we, again, are a very good indicator of how our economy is doing. And for us to really be in a state of saying, look, we're really excited about the next generation. We're ready to hire. We want people within our midst. One, it attacks the issue that we're seeing of a big wave of retirements that are occurring. So it's welcoming, new talent, new folks to consider us. But two, it's also, again, hitting that original question that is why I created my company, which is nobody knows we exist. And now we're in this position where we're just saying, well, where is everybody? And we have to understand that we have got to be as recognizable as that target sign for people to understand that we offer not only great salaries, great benefits, and a great future, and a way to progression path to get to leadership if that's what you want to do. But, we're also that team. At the very core of everything, we offer a team culture. And when you want to be on a team, whether you were an athlete, whether you were on mock trial, whatever you were in high school or college or whatever the case may be, there's a home for you here. And I can't reiterate that enough. It just, we're ready for you. We're excited for you. And I do hope that you consider the rail industry in its depth of whatever you want to learn. We've got you.
So then, can you provide an overview of Spring LLC and its mission?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can you provide an overview of Spring LLC and its the company mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a small women-owned small business, and we are a DBE. So what that means is that, one, we are run by a majority of women. Everyone that I have on my team right now is a woman. I support bringing more women into the industry. So if you're listening to this, get over here, and we'll connect you with the right employers, of course. So what we do is we really provide two main services, and this is for the employer side of it. One, we recruit, and then the other side is that we retain. So our two main functions are recruiting and retention. That is the base equation for what succession planning is. Succession planning, we might have seen fun series on HBO. We might have seen, we've heard that word before, succession. Maybe it's kind of reserved for the upper echelon of leadership. But in reality, we have got to be able to succession plan for the track laborers, for the conductors, for the admins, for the accountants. Everybody that is coming into the industry, we have to have a plan of how they're going to progress, or if they want to, or what skills they want to learn. And then when folks are leaving our industry, do we have someone that can spend time with that person before they leave so that they can transcend some of that knowledge to them, and then make that transition a little bit easier? So on the recruiting side, what we offer is pretty much your basic recruiting agency direct hire. So if you're looking to hire a specific job, you give us a job description, we become your bloodhounds, we go out for the scent, we find that person, we bring them to you, and you hire them, and then we will charge our commission for our services rendered. Then the second one that we do is a geographically based. So if there's a company out there that is really looking to expand their footprint, and again, like I said, that brand recognition, this is kind of the grassroots effort. That if there's a local shop or there's a new contractor somewhere in Iowa, they said, you know what, for a 50-mile radius, we want you to go out there and be our voice. Perfect. That's what we do. We become that extension of their recruiting team so that they build the right pipelines with tech schools, with high schools, and any other career centers that we can connect them with to, again, brand recognition, get the community involved, let them know that they exist and that they are there. And then the last option we have for recruiting is retention. So if you are looking to hire quite a few folks in a shorter period of time, we use our muscle, we use our community, we use all of our search engines that we have connected with our company to do that mission as well. So those are the three ways that we can help you on the recruiting side. But of course, we can make railroading sound like the sexiest job you've ever heard. But unless you have the right training in place and the right assimilation or new hire mentorship program kind of in place, and it doesn't have to be overly sophisticated. It can just be a shadowing process that you claim as your mentorship program. We can help you build those as well. So that's kind of a custom effort where me and my team will go out and shadow your most experienced players and essentially set up a game plan based on their skills. The moment they clock in from the moment they clock out, what do they do? So that when you get someone out of high school or college or tech school or a veteran base, that they actually have something physical, like a manual that says, okay, day one, this is how we figure out how to clock in. Here's all the computer programs that we need to know how to do that. So it's step by step, assimilating you into the culture while also pausing for a moment and saying, okay, at this point, this is a mentorship opportunity. We're going to ask our most experienced crew member, how do I physically do this? Show me, and then I'm going to do it, and they're going to watch me, and they're going to sign off. So it's just another means to, one, document the kind of training that you will receive in some of these different instances, but also get that person the skills that they need to be successful in whatever career it is, whether it's on the corporate side, whether it's in the field, whatever the case may be. Now, the last thing that we have is a partnership with our partners at Fastport. And if you've ever heard of an apprenticeship program before, that's what it is. So essentially what we have created with Fastport are these different career outlines. So if you wanted to become a signal maintainer, or if you wanted to become a conductor, there is basically a checklist, or what we call in DOL, Department of Labor jargon, is work process schedule. You will go through and see these different skills that are listed throughout of what you would need to do to be a conductor. So the first one might be throw a switch, learn the rules, learn this territory. These are just examples. But you would go down that list, and when those people have completed them, then a mentor or a qualified person would check that off, and then they'd move on to the next skill. Until they got to a point where they got all the checklists, they got all the skills that they need to be, and then they get marked up, and then they're able to gain a higher wage, getting out of that kind of apprenticeship stage, that trainee stage, and then have a career at the end waiting for them. So the Nationally Registered Apprenticeship Program is a completely free program. So if there's any employers listening out there today, it's something that you can adopt within 48 hours if you're ready to pull the trigger and go on that. And so we are excited to help anybody learn more about that. And the beautiful part of that, if you're trying to get veterans involved in your workforce, by having an apprenticeship, when you go to the bases to recruit or you're interviewing someone, that is a veteran and GI eligible, their GI Bill is still eligible, they can get up to about $2,000 a month on top of whatever you're going to pay them just for going through your apprenticeship program, so your training program. So it's a huge recruiting tool if you are in the market for getting veterans involved within your community. Having an apprenticeship program set up, you're already doing it. It's just a matter of having this formalized document, which is no more than a checklist for you to really show them what they're going to learn, and then at the end of the day, have them have a job with your company for the future. So those are the two different ways that we can help companies. And we have realized that these are kind of the vital trends that you need to have your eyes on recruiting and you need to have your eyes on retention. These two things are interconnected. And if you don't think that, then let's have another conversation. But they really need to overlap in a way that you understand what's happening in your workplace. And when you're out there recruiting to other people, on the flip side is, you know that you are going to be training them, even if they have no clue anything about the rail industry. You want to assure that next generation that you've got a home for them and that you're going to train them to be successful. And I think that's a major takeaway. And again, that's why those two things pair so well together, and what's brought us success in the last 5 years. We just celebrated our 5th year anniversary in April this year. So we're on our way to continue to grow, and we're super excited about the future.
I can sit here and listen to you talking for hours. And while you are talking, that's why I smile, because I was thinking about it. I'm like, she just has a passion when she's talking about it. You can feel the passion just coming out. It's like,
well, thank you.
I don't know your dad, but I feel like part of that just coming out of you, and then it's like, it's just perfect. But that also, like, when you talk about the employer part, but what about if someone that want to get to the railroad industry, they just want to know about it? How do they even get a job? And they reach out to you. Can you help them? Can you match them with the right employer to get a job, or at least get to a program like you were talking earlier? Like, hey, maybe you might want to take this program first to get some sort of knowledge or something like that.
Absolutely. And we have those conversations really daily. We just came back from Schofield Barracks and also Pearl Harbor 2 weeks ago. And a lot of folks their eyes just light up when we tell them that there's a job on the mainland, with railroad companies. We talked to a lot of candidates that had, PMP or project management. We've got a ton of employers looking for that. And to say that, I have this experience in the military, it does translate quite well, especially for rail. I love hiring veterans. I love helping veterans. I love helping civilians. Anybody that wants to get into the rail industry, we're here to help. And that's really our key focus is, you join our free community, and the first thing we'll do, we'll reach out, we'll ask you for your resume. We'll see if we have anything that pairs right now. Our jobs change all the time. So if we don't have something available right at this moment, we might in a few weeks or a month from now. So it behooves you to join us early and to become a part of our communication list, which again is completely free for all candidates, and start that conversation with us. You could talk to me, my manager of recruiting services. Her name's Brandy. Look us up on LinkedIn. We'll have a conversation. We can guide you in the right direction. Even if you just want to talk about trains, or you want to talk about the rail industry and how you can support, be an advocate for, and or just shoot it with us. We're here to have that conversation and just get you more excited about it. I know you can feel I love this industry. I'll never leave it. And I want other people to understand that we're not going anywhere. And in fact, we're growing. We're not obsolete. And this is the time to join, to get involved in the railroad industry, because there is so much opportunity for you to get your hands, just get involved, put your hands in a whole bunch of different pies, just start learning things, and then really just cultivate a new culture. So it's a beautiful time. It's a great time to get involved in, and I can't recommend it enough for people that are curious and ready to learn. This is the place to be.
How's the income? When someone decided, like, I know it's something to be passionate about, but also some people get passionate by the money part of it. Like, hey, I have a family to take care of. So are we looking at it's similar to any other job they would have paid, or it's underpay? How does that work?
Absolutely. So in the field, there's actually a a statistic that came out with from the American Railroad Association, the AAR, and they did some research on that exact question. And I think the average American makes somewhere around like $87,000. And they calculated, now this is kind of an aggregate of a lot of different organizations, mind you, and that includes benefits and different aspects of what your income would be. And with the rail industry, it was $127,000, and again, including benefits, retirement, and everything else. So, and that's I'll say that's probably just being starting out as being a conductor and working your way up, or having a little bit of seniority there. But we are one of the best paid industries, so that's a great bonus to have. Depending on again what craft or what, because we're union and non-union. A lot of the smaller organizations are non-union. But that doesn't matter. They all pay quite well, especially on the contractor side. If you're used to having kind of a 24-hour schedule, that definitely guarantees you having a higher schedule for sure, or higher pay. Just because railroads run 24/7, right? So it's all nice to have a Monday through Friday job, but our industry is constantly running. So we need people on every shift, being able to travel. Maybe you could stay in one spot too, and that's fine. But the pay is going to vary not only by location, but also kind of those other variables of how much you travel, or what else you're doing in that capacity.
But in your opinion, what are some of the most significant opportunities and challenges facing rail industry today?
I think that's a good question. The most challenging part, honestly, again, I'm a big proponent of this brand recognition. You've heard me say that a few times now today. So I think one of the things that we as an industry need to do better at is that goal of letting communities know where we are, who we are, and that they can trust us. When we do that, I think we alleviate a lot of questions in the manner of, okay, well, we're an employer, we're here to support, and we're here to drive economies forward. Whereas right now we're kind of just in this secret society. Nobody really knows that we exist, and I think that could be a dangerous place to stay if that's what the industry would decide to do. Which that's not the direction they're going. But it's a dangerous place to be, because when we don't have somebody to fix that locomotive, to run it the next day for a crew to service that industry, well, now that industry shuts down. If the industry shuts down, then we're not making money. So it's kind of a chain reaction there. If we're not paying careful enough attention of how we're bringing people on, and how that really hurts or affects our future. And when I say that too, in mind thinking that there are a lot of focuses right now for diversity and inclusion. We want more women. We want more veterans. We want more people with different backgrounds than we've ever had before. So it's a good focus to have, and I think we're headed in the right direction in those terms. But again, like I said before, this is a beautiful time to really bring your personality, your perspective to the table, and help some of these railroads get to that next level and level up.
Can I put you in the spot right here for a second?
Sure.
How far would you go to make sure that the railroad come back again to how it used to be? Let's say 1700, 1800, where that was all that was exist, and the attention was just in that.
Well, the one thing about that is I don't know if we want to go back to the 1800s, just because when we think about safety, we were not doing too hot with safety and regular work hours, and just we weren't doing good. And so, I don't know if we'd ever want to go back to the way things were. We definitely want to keep progressing in the forward trajectory. But like I said, we're growing. The industry is growing. The railroads are growing. If you tune into any of your local short lines, that you're going to see some big growth opportunities happen. There's a short line in North Carolina that just brought on a huge new customer site. it's going to bring thousands of jobs to the area, and that's a beautiful thing. Not just one success story. So, it's like I said, we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. It's just fixing that perception that we're going away, or that we're not relevant to today's everyday society. It's true. You can't go to a grocery store and pick us off the shelf and buy a railroad, but you can still play Monopoly. You can still look out the window at a crossing and see how the economy is doing, and to put it back to the forefront that, hey, now I work there. Hey, mom works there now. I think that can really help, again, just fix that recognition that I think we really need to get ahead of and really solidify for the future.
Are you willing to mentor other women that would like to get into the business?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to mentor others. Just a little bit more about my background and some of my commitments. I'm the president of the Transportation Club here in Kansas City. I'm also a board member of the League of Railway Women. So with the League of Railway Women, I've always been a mentor to others, new hires, whatever the case may be, other C-suite executives, bouncing stuff off each other. If you are interested, if you want a mentor, myself and anybody on my team would be more than happy to do that. And that's a commitment we've made since we've started this organization. I think that's such an important part of anybody's career, is just to have somebody to bounce ideas off or check in with regularly to say, I sent this email, it felt weird. Why do you think this? And get that critique, get some of that hard conversations going, because that's only going to make you stronger in the future. And I've had some great mentors. Of course, I have one that, my dad was there for a very long time when I was growing up. So easy to use him as a mentor. But again, that's what we are. We want to be that voice of reason, that light to the pathway to come on into the rail industry. And we're here to mentor and talk to anybody that wants to get involved and just hear our experience. But that's the good, bad, and the ugly. There's not too much of that, but it's, we're here to share our stories and how we got to where we are.
I think that every industry has both the bad and the good. And I think that it doesn't matter if what you decide you want to do in this world, you're going to have to deal with some bad regardless. But why not be a part of something bigger than that? So like something that's a new feature that's going to go even bigger. Like you said, it's been there the entire time. It's just the fact that we just let it go silent. And we don't pay attention to it. Like, for example, trucks come in, Amazon deliver the phone of your door, and then that's the next thing. But don't you think Amazon actually used them to transport these things at the end of the day in somehow, some way? It's just they're playing a part behind the scene that you don't see every day anymore. But that doesn't mean it's not there. And you know what? What you don't see every day is the most powerful thing ever on earth. At least that's what I learned for the past few years that I've been in life.
For sure. It's honestly, when you're out in the field and you're next to a locomotive, there is nothing that is more invigorating than physically feeling the power that is a locomotive right next to you. You get an SD40 right next to you, and that thing is growling, and it's just, I'm not a gearhead at all, but like it just gets you like excited. It's a beautiful feeling, and then you understand that horsepower is moving tons and tons of freight that is going into tonight's rice. It has the plastic millets that are going to be used in your kids' toys that they're going to play with later. There's your car, your Mercedes-Benz is in that auto rack. And the other thing I just wanted to mention too, just kind of as an educational piece, is that, the way you can really think about the different types of railroads, and I keep mentioning, there's quite a few of them here. We don't know too much about them, is there's different categories. So much like college recruiting, there's, class D1 schools, D2 and D3, very similar to the rail industry, actually. Let's make that analogy that there's class 1 railroads, which are your Norfolk Southern, your BNSFs, your Warren Buffett railroads, your Canadian Nationals. And then there's D2s, which is kind of like your regional buddies who maybe they own a bunch of different railroads. Or they have a big regional, 300 miles, whatever the case may be. But then you also have your D3 or your class 3, the C3, which are your mom and pop shops. And you might say, well, they can't be too profitable. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
They might have only 1 mile of track, but they're in Long Beach, California, and they are right by the port. So they are the most, they could be the most profitable railroad there is. So again, I just say that because there's just so much complexity and there's so many different feels, especially, when candidates are looking for employers, what they want. Do they want to be, just a part of a normal schedule? Here's kind of the regimented focus for that. And there are railroads that are a little bit more regimented, and that's great. But then there's also railroads, a lot of short lines specifically, that, have weekends off, have family day every month, that, have opportunities for the community to do different excursions during the holidays. So there's different cultures, there's different fits, there's different feels. And depending on what you want from an employer, there's these different teams that you can really consider. And again, that's kind of where me and Brandy and my team come into place, because we can kind of help you guide you to that different team or that different atmosphere that you're looking for.
But how can someone connect with you?
Well, you can connect with me on Instagram. Railway Baroness is my handle, or you can email us. Just send us your resume, Michele@springrecruits.com. You can find us on LinkedIn. We post stuff all the time about new different opportunities coming available from employers within our network. And lastly, you can just call me or text me. I'm a millennial. That's probably the easiest way to contact me, to be honest with you. If you send me a text saying, "Hey, I saw your podcast. Want to talk to you. Love your pink shirt. Let's go." I'll be like, "All right, let's go, girl. Let's have this conversation." So, we're here. We're in different facets. Anywhere you're on social media, if you have internet, we could talk to you. So please feel free to reach out to us. Join our free network, which is at springrecruits.com. And we hope to hear from you and teach you more about the industry and really get you involved and help this industry grow.
Thank you so much, Michele. Anything else you'd like to share with us before I let you go today?
Oh, man. If you give me the time, I'm going to keep talking. So
I figured that much.
Not for now, but I'll reserve that for whoever does want to reach out afterwards, because, we've got a ton of different employers that we could talk about specifically and just walk you through more about the rail industry. But I'm just so honored to have this opportunity to speak with you this morning and really share a little bit more about our story, how we got involved, and just to have that passion come through, hopefully, and reach new audiences.
It did. It did. You can feel it, and I don't think you realize that I was smiling the whole time, because it's like you can just, it's like, I don't know, it's like a love with no, there's nothing attached to it. It's a free love that just floating around, that you can just feel it just coming out of you. It's like, wow,
Oh, thank you.
That's beautiful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.